Monday, March
Second.
2nd. Thank you. Meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Could rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we'll continue with the budget reviews. First up on the list is Cable, Enterprise, and Telemedia Department.
You don't want me to do any presentation on that at all, or you just want to go right into the budgets?
I saw the select board one, but if people
I
have.
thought, okay.
Okay. You got a lot to cover anyway, so it's not a bad idea. All right, the cable, Brian, you want to come up?
Sure.
Do you have a presentation, or you,
We can just go through the budget slide by slide if that
okay,
works. Just start through the line items.
actually, let's go through this one.
Oh, this one, the revenue breakdown.
Yeah, well, you're gonna maybe on the first one. You the first one? No. Yeah, you are. You're the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
From Okay. So this is Ryan's budget. Doing something a little different this year. His budget. Hold on. Oh, I'm thinking Stonewall. His budget. Oops, sorry. Budget is $596,000, and the projected income is $605,000. So we have a surplus of $8,900. Within that budget, he has $180,000 capital outlay. You know, let him talk about that stuff, but those are the major items in his budget. And then the indirect costs for his budget, fairly stable with the exception of group insurance, which has gone up substantially. That's across all budgets. No surprise there. This is a capital outlay over 5 years. So this year he's looking to spend $180,000. And like I said, I'll let him go through that. Last year we appropriated $77,000. I think he's still working on that one. And revenue over the past 5 years, you can see it's kind of a downward trend. And that's a reflection of cable revenues overall. We're still doing okay though in terms of revenue. In fact, the rate, we just settled the contract with Verizon, and we went from 3.5% to 4% on the cable franchise fee, and that'll help to sort of blunt some of the drop. And then this shows probably the most important slide. This shows you the breakdown in revenue, shows you that cable franchise fee from Comcast is in the red, so that's $288,000 this year versus last year's $306. I'm sorry, FY25, and then 24 was 306, and then the year before that was 311. And similarly, Verizon, which is blue, is 197, 201, and 252. So it's a little bit of a steady decline there. The interest on these accounts is actually grown a little bit, and that's because we do have a healthy reserve. And then other than that, I'll let you jump in.
So, I mean, I know most of you have heard this spiel before, but just for the people at home and some of the new faces. So we are not funded from tax-paying. We are funded through a cable franchise fee. So Comcast and Verizon, on your bill, if you're a subscriber, you might see a fee that says PEG fee or something like that, and that's how we're funded. And we currently can get anywhere from 2.5% to 5%. The problem is if you go to 5%, it just gets passed on to the customer. So it really just increases their cable bill. So we've now settled at 4%, which we think is great to help fund our operations, keep us with healthy reserves, but not burden the cable subscribers too much. So that we just had Comcast and Verizon contracts negotiated within 2 years, so we're set for a while. Really happy about that. And if you want to just go through line item by line item, we can start there. Not too much has changed. A lot's changed in the capital. Some exciting things to talk about there. Salaries is just typical step increases for full-time staff. Part-time staff is budgeted at the same. I'd like to note that right now, for the first time in probably like 5 years, we are fully staffed with our 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. And the 2 part-time staff that we have been really great, and right now, we're able to produce a lot of content, which is something I'll go over after with our programming notes. If we want to switch to repairs and maintenance, this year we went down again to a request. We've just really sort of tried to reduce the amount of reliance that we have on our production van, just because it's much more gas efficient to use our personal vehicles just around town. If we need to go from shoot to shoot and you'll need a camera or something like that, it's just the added cost to the gas and to maintain the van just isn't worth it. So we have a little bit of a decrease there. If we switch to leases and contracts, these again are for MIA broadcasts and our server care support. This is pretty much the same from last year. Not much has changed in terms of the licenses that we have. Again, the MIAA amount of money changes year to year based on how many playoff teams they have. Right now, Tewksbury is doing very well in their sports, so there's a lot of playoff games. So those cost us money to film, which is just part of the deal. But it's great to be able to provide that service for people who are at home or, don't live in Tewksbury but still want to be able to watch it and stream it live. If we switch to professional services, you'll see a decline here as well, and that's because there's no need for any sort of franchise renewal this year. Like I said, we just wrapped up both Comcast and Verizon, so those legal services that are related to those, they can be quite pricey, but they're once every 10 years with Comcast and once every 5 years with Verizon. So we just wrapped up 2 of them that we won't need that money for the foreseeable future, so that's good. Communications, these are just cell phones and mobile hotspots for Jason and myself's communication cell phones. Office supplies, we have, we try to be a very lean department. We try to, simply because we can't predict the amount of revenue. As John mentioned, the franchise fees are all over the place. A lot of people subscribe to YouTube TV now instead of Comcast or Verizon. There's Hulu, so there's a lot of competition. So we try to be pretty lean, and right now we recognize that we're sufficient with our office supplies and that we can, see a decrease in that amount of money. If we want to go to all supplies and expensive, these are all non-production items, so it's similar like SD cards and cables and batteries, things that are sort of ancillary to a production but that aren't necessarily a production camera or a piece of editing software. Other equipment, so this is pretty much what I was just talking about in terms of computers, cameras, microphones. All of that is Again, we have a very sufficient stock, and I always like to give credit to Jason Marshall, our operations manager, who's really great at maintaining our field equipment, our microphones. He makes sure that they last long and that they're, up to the latest technology and firmware updates. So we get a lot of use and a lot of long-term benefits from that. So that saves us money from having to buy new equipment in the future. So we feel sufficient with the equipment we have right now. Travel, that's for any conferences or courses that we attend. And dues and memberships, we belong to two organizations, that's Mass Access and ACM, that's the Massachusetts PEG group, and then the ACM is the national PEG group, which is Public Educational Government. And we can switch to staff development. These are some courses offered through the MMA, the OIG, and then there's also some AV and tech training. Jason himself is getting cyber security certified, which is very helpful to have another person around here that's able to help relieve IT staff for that. And because there's a big intersection between our department and the IT department, and Jason is really great with that stuff, so he's been taking on a bigger role in that department. And I'll stop there before I talk about capital and take any questions regarding operating.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, you answered most of my questions. My only question is the budget, the operating budget shows 88,470. Last 3 fiscal years, expenditures, the top amount's only been 64,000.
Yeah.
Has expenditures been higher this year that you expect to spend the whole entire budget, or are these for emergency situations that the budget's set so high?
So, I mean, it depends what line item we're talking about. Like I said, I try to be lean, so that's why I try to spend, as little as possible. But it's one of those things where when you're dealing with technology, you never know what's going to go wrong. You never know what you're going to need to replace. So I like to keep some buffer zone in there for repairs and maintenance in case we need to maintain a camera, in case we need to rent a piece of equipment because something we have doesn't work, and God forbid something breaks. I like to keep have the capacity to purchase another camera if we need to. So since it's such an unpredictable environment, we do try to give ourselves that room to where we feel like we're able to at least be able to replace what we have in case something goes wrong, or if technology changes for some reason. They're no longer accepting our H.264 formats, and we have to totally switch to some other type of format that's required of us. It just leaves us some flexibility, But the money that's not spent, just can go back into the reserves. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so I'll move on to the capital. This is one that I'm very excited about because when I first came here 7 years ago, one of the first buildings 7.5 actually, one of the first buildings I toured was the Ella Fleming building, and we talked about putting in a production studio there at that time. It was something that I thought would be a good idea. Apparently there are some different uses for it throughout the years. It was described as more of a museum at that point. So that kind of got put on the back burner. Recent developments have found, and I would really just like to give credit to town manager John Curran and assistant town manager Robert Maynard, who said, this would be a good space to have a studio, let's do a studio. So this was pretty much revived from 7 years ago, from sort of like a hope and a dream we had to suddenly now a reality. So we are going to have our own space in the Ella Fleming studio, which is going to be a podcast space, and it's also going to be a small little green screen studio. So residents in town can produce podcasts and local access television shows as long as they're non-commercial. It's something that people in the community have asked for. So to be able to provide this service, I think is going to be a huge benefit to the town, and I think it's a great use of the Ella Fleming space. So something we're really excited about.
So if you're familiar with the Ella Fleming, there's 2 rooms in the front and then 1 room in the back. The one on the right is sort of the historic classroom, and the one on the left is a similar sized room. And then there's a room in the back that also is a similar sized meeting room. So we thought instead of having 3 meeting rooms that are roughly the same size, we took 1 meeting room and split it. And so one piece of the meeting room will be the studio, and the other piece will be a podcast/edit suite room. So I think that's a great use of the space. Gets the building to be used more often, because I don't like the idea of the building being empty. So I think that's good. That's a good way to do it. And like Brian said, providing services that I think people have been asking for. So
Yeah.
Is that room 12 by 12?
Ooh, I don't know the exact dimensions. It's a pretty big space. It's a big room now, and it's going to be divided in half. So one side's going to be podcast and editing suite, and one side's going to be a little production studio. I'm not sure of the exact dimensions, but we have been working with the facilities director, Vinnie Bommel, and we've been working with some of our own audiovisual consultants to get all of that stuff spec'd out. And all that will be done as soon as the Ella Fleming building is complete.
Just
Yeah.
completely not necessarily related to the budget part of it, but when you have that done, are you going to be offering, because I'm assuming people who might be interested in those types of activities might not necessarily have the technology experience so are you going to assist with kind of the production? Are you going to help? Is there going to be like classes to help teach residents how to do it, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we would obviously, by the time that it gets completed, I would expect it to be around November. Jason and I will need training and stuff to be able to train other people, but we plan on having some open houses, to sort of invite the community in, show them what we have to offer, gauge some interest. I will tell you that I've worked in several different communities at different cable access stations. They've all had studios, and the amount of use varies from place to place. Some are very active, and some are not active at all. There are many people who want to have their own show, but don't necessarily want to produce their own show. There are some people who get really passionate about producing it, and then, that sort of relieves some of the staff time that Jason and myself would have to use. So it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to see what the demand is for the town and then sort of develop a plan from there. But of course, the number one thing would be to get it built and get awareness out there to sort of gauge what the interest is going to be like in the future. Yeah.
I think we'd have to put some guardrails around what content a podcast could have, per se.
Yeah, there's actually very specific case laws and all the way up to the Supreme Court and FCC regulations. We as a cable access provider basically function as an extension of the First Amendment, so we cannot prohibit anything as long as it does not violate FCC obscenity laws. Now, it doesn't mean we have to produce something like that. We can offer our services, we would have to offer the equipment to be used for all purposes for the residents, but as long as they're not violating FCC obscenity laws, it's made it to the Supreme Court that we would have to use that. Now, we do have control over what time that would be played. So there's called safe harbor hours, which I believe are from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. So if it's something we think is questionable, we can air it at those hours only with warnings that this is not representative of the town of Tewksbury or the telemedia department. This is an individually produced program. So I've never ran into anything like that. It's rare that it happens, but it has happened. So it's definitely something we will be prepared for. And it actually already is in our rules and regulations that you can find on our website that we hand out to everybody. But yeah, that's always a concern. It's always a possibility, but we think we're able to deal with it if it does arise.
I would assume that just because people are using the studios doesn't necessarily mean that telemedia would have to broadcast it, right?
So it's not necessarily, we would have to broadcast it if they're using our equipment, because that's sort of the point, they're creating content for us. But it would not have to be a telemedia or Town of Tewksbury production.
Okay.
So this would be a person's individual production that they are sending to us. And another rule with the safe harbor hours is we only are required to play it twice. So if they give it to us, we have to air it twice, but we can choose to play it between the hours of like 12 and 3 a.m., and that's totally up to us, and we would air it with a warning. Like I said, it's very rare that this happens, but it's something we are prepared for.
I have a question on the state of the building. Did you say it was still being updated?
With the building itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So are the meeting rooms available at this point, or?
No, nothing. It's still under construction.
Okay. And if we do change one into this podcast studio thing, we still have 2 others?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. When do we expect that to be completed?
Well, do you know what the it's supposed to be this summer,
Spring,
right?
yes, I think it's going to be spring. They're shooting for spring.
Okay.
So once they get wrapped up in there, I'll start working on the RFP, and then hopefully if this passes through town meeting, I'll send the RFP out July 1, July 2, and, bring some consultants in and have it bid, and then hopefully maybe have it built even by the end of the summer and have it up and running completely by the fall. That would be an ideal situation. Of course, who knows what delays could pop up, but that would be the ideal situation.
Okay. And how did you come up with the 180?
So that's based on what we did recently at the high school studio. So we did, it's going to be a little bit of a scaled down version than that. They had a lot of weird things that we had to do for them, but yeah, it's based on that, and then also sort of, just our industry research into it. But we did just complete the high school studio project a couple of years ago, so
Yeah.
we're sort of basing it off of that, yeah.
Great. Thanks.
All right, anything else? Before I just go over this briefly, because I know Rob and Dave, I wish Dave was here, because he always asks for stats.
He does.
He always wants to see these, and this is the first year that I've actually had them in front of me, so. Just to go over it real quickly, so in calendar year 2025, we did 98 government meetings. And all of these hours are just broadcast hours. This does not include the editing that it takes, the setup, the breakdown, anything like that. There were 98 government meetings totaling 106 hours. The school committee meetings were 14 productions with 32 hours. 108 sporting events with 272 hours. Tewksbury Public School events, these are things like concerts and social host nights and things like that. There were 12 productions that were 12 hours. And then community events, those are just things around town, library events that we cover, parades, all of that stuff. There were 94 events and 116 hours, which brings us to 326 total unique programs and 538 total programming hours, which I would stack up against any cable access station in this area as opposed to the amount produced for a town, especially with the size of the staff. And I really want to commend Jason, who's always very flexible, as well as Azza and Cam, who are our part-timers, who have been very helpful in creating all this content.
Those are good numbers. I have one question. You mentioned you're using your own vehicle to go from site to site. You guys get paid mileage for that or anything?
Yeah, we do get a mileage reimbursement. Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Can we lump that into what we talked about with, make sure it's in line with
Yes, the rates, yeah.
the rates?
Yeah, the IRS business rates, yeah.
Yes. That's all I have. Jason, you got anything?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, I I'd just like to add, I think you guys have done an awesome job, because I do watch a lot of the meetings and the sporting events and such, and since, what has it been, 7 years?
Yeah, 7.5, yeah.
Yeah, with just the two of you and just the quality of the broadcast and, I mean, the digital quality, the visual quality, as well as, everything else. It's been great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to go film the
Thank
rest
you,
of this
Ryan.
meeting now.
I wish I was there to see that mustache in person.
I didn't even know that it would show up on screen.
Oh, that thing, oh, I see it. I see it from a distance. That thing, stellar.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you get up next?
DPW, general fund.
General fund, all right. Come on up, Kevin.
Hey, mute, Jason.
Do you want to start with the admin budget? Go to General fund first?
Sure.
Sorry, what did we say, admin?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Want me to kick it off?
Sure.
All right. Well, good evening. Good to see everyone again. So the admin budget, there's a slight increase in the admin budget due to the salary step increases in COLA, some longevity. As far as the operating, there is an increase in energy utilities that's associated with the new building. We've been in there about 8 months now. We're still trying to figure out what our energy utility costs will be. The facility repairs and maintenance, we've level funded that. We're actually still under warranty on the existing building, but we do have the new building. We have the existing building we have to maintain at this point. Leases and contracts, there is a slight uptick in that. With the new building, we need an additional copier, just because we have 2 office areas, and we only have 1 copier printer at this point. So we had an additional lease for a copier. Professional services, we're level funding. Communication, there is a decrease there. That's due to the work order system. It's web-based, and the staff prefers to use their phones instead of tablets. So we do everything, they do everything on their town phones now. So it reduced the tablet communications costs. Office supplies is level funded. All other expenses, there's a slight increase there of $1,000. That's for additional supplies for the new building. But the larger facilities, locker rooms, the muster room, things like that, we need additional funding for that. Computer equipment is level funded. There is no in-state travel. Dues and memberships, 2% increase here. This is due to the varying schedules, some annual, some biannual, and some every 3 years, depending on what the certifications are that have to be renewed for the staff. Then the other is staff development, is also level funded. Any questions on the admin budget?
Got 2 minor questions. The computer equipment, you haven't spent that line item in the past 3 years. Do you plan on spending it? Never got a new keyboard?
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we spend it out of all other supplies is order
I
amount.
was going to say, is it
Yeah.
easier to just budget it with a different line item and kind of combine it since it's not looking like you're spending it? I know
Yeah.
it's only $500, but.
Yeah, a lot of times that's, we put that aside for Jamie and IT.
Yep.
So he can purchase things that, when he wants to make upgrades, he uses that funding to do it.
But it's still come out of the line item, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it just hasn't been spent.
Right.
And then training, is that just training for your 4.5 staff for that 5,800?
No, it's for, also the assistant director is in there as well.
So it's just for those 4.5 people? Because
Yeah.
I saw training in each individual. I wasn't sure if you signed up for a class and it was like a holistic OSHA class, or this is just for you guys to sign up or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
All right.
Okay.
Engineering next?
Engineering.
Sorry, I do have one quick question. How long have you been in the building?
About 8 months.
It's been, okay, not even a full year yet?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering about the utilities, but you haven't even got a full year, so,
We haven't, we also had an extreme winter.
yeah.
We're still working through some HVAC issues, so we haven't really found a
See.
baseline yet. Yeah, it's,
Scam. The whole industry.
yeah, it's a very smart system, almost too smart.
Yeah.
So we're still working through some kinks.
It's always something.
So the engineering budget. So similarly, there's a slight increase in salaries due to COLA step increases and longevity. So there's no roadway resurfacing in here right now. That's something historically that had been added to in October town meeting with some free cash funding, but it's left out of this budget. Professional services, there's an increase there. That's due to Simplicity Streets. It's a GIS platform. We were hoping to get away from that last fiscal year. It's something that we're trying to replace with Esri, ArcGIS. We just haven't launched that yet, so we still need to include this subscription cost. The sidewalk line item is not funded this year through the operating budget, but it is going to be funded through capital. Communications, slight increase there based on the cost of our data plan for our GIS survey tablet. Postage is level funded. Office supplies, a slight increase there based on some office equipment. All other supplies and expenses is level funded. Dues and memberships, again, this is down 26%. That's because of the renewal cycles on various licenses. Staff development is level funded, and there are no capital outlay expenses in this budget. Any questions?
Any questions, anybody? No?
For the dues and memberships, just more curiosity thing and budgeting, because I know water and wastewater was this year's cycle. Is the numbers listed what people actually have on that backup sheet?
Yes.
Just curious. Okay.
Yep.
That's excellent. Then I guess I'll ask a follow-up question on that. Why wasn't the distribution license funded for this fiscal year, or is it on the backup sheet? I'm just curious. If the people have the license, they had to pay for it this year.
Oh, that staff member has left.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So we try to maintain just the overall list, and then as they need funding year to year, we show that cost in here, yeah.
So on the, I think it's the professional services, or the, do you think next year we can get off of the software that you want to be off of?
That's the hope, yes.
Okay.
So if you get off that, it's going to be a big cost increase though, right? To go into Esri?
No, we already have Esri.
Oh.
We already use
Are you
that.
just upgrading to like enterprise or utility network, or?
This is going to be a public-facing platform that
Oh, okay.
replaces our People GIS. platform that we have now.
Okay.
I would do fleet next. So the fleet budget salaries increased by 2.8%. And this is based on the COLAs for that division. All 4 staff members are maxed out in their steps. And there's a slight longevity increase there as well. So equipment maintenance, this has gone up significantly. That's basically due to the cost of repairing vehicles, the size of the fleet that we have now. You can see kind of a breakdown of, where that money goes based on how many vehicles we have that need different services and parts and things like that. So that has increased a little over $100,000.
Has the new building affected that as well? Or?
No, it has not. No, that is just the repairs to all the vehicles, tires, oil changes, all that stuff. The cost of a fuel filter has gone up significantly, things like that.
But it probably would have been worse if we had still been storing our vehicles if we didn't have the new DPW building.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
So gas and diesel, there's a over 13% decrease in this budget. This is one where we try to predict what the economy is going to do as far as fuel prices.
Just thought about that last week.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, that
what's
changed
gonna happen.
Saturday.
That changed when they closed the Strait of Hormuz.
So this is, we base this on what our annual usage of fuel is and what we project the cost of diesel to be and the cost of gasoline, which is purchased through a consortium. So there is some savings there. There are no dues and memberships costs in fleet. There are staff development costs that has been level funded. And there's no capital outlay in the operating budget for fleet. Any questions?
For equipment maintenance, is there any reason why the fire inspection stickers aren't taken out of this line item, but every other vehicle's inspection sticker is taken out of this budget?
Dave, you want to field that one?
Just odd.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's same thing with ambulance maintenance, small vehicle maintenance. They still do it in their budget, not in our budget.
Okay, because every other maintenance cost was included besides inspectional stickers, so it was just bizarre.
Yeah, they handle that themselves. Specialized equipment. Oh, I'm sure Jason may have. Did you have a question, Jason, or?
No, I got a call.
Oh, all right.
Big truck and I got it on board.
Any other questions on that fleet budget?
I don't know.
All right. Forestry. So the forestry budget does not have any salaries. Those staff members are included in the highway budget. So for the operating budget for forestry, there's no increase in the repairs and maintenance line item. That's level funded. There's also no increase in the professional services line item. It's also level funded. There's a slight increase in the leases and contract line item. That is due to the police detail costs. We're seeing that when we do in-house work, not sure if you folks are familiar with how the police details work. There's a rate for the town and there's a rate for contractors. Contractors are a fixed rate. when the town hires a detail, it's at overtime, the time and a half rate. What we see a lot of times is that we'll get some of the higher ranking officers to take the town details because they get paid more than when they do the contractor details. So our costs are slightly higher than when we, say, put out a water main project and pay police details through that. So that's the increase here that we're seeing. That just, obviously they get COLAs, they get step increases and things like that, and that has to be reflected through the detail rate. All other supplies, there's a slight increase here, and that's, again, the police detail costs for doing our town-wide in-house work that we do for tree removals. Dues and memberships are level funded, staff development is level funded, and there's no capital outlay in the operating budget for forestry. Any questions?
So for staff development, you have CDL and hoisting, but it's highway employees. You have the exact same staff development in the highway department, or the highway budget as well.
So
Is there a difference between the two, or?
what do you mean?
Like under staff development, you have CDL/hoisting license budget for $1,800.
Yep.
And then in the highway, you have the same description budgeted again.
Yes.
So you're just separating the
Separate,
two, or
right.
2 employees get paid, or 2 employees
Yeah.
get paid out of the other one? Okay.
Yeah. So we do have employees that do mostly forestry work versus highway work, and those would be covered under this budget.
Okay.
For their staff development. Basically the staff that's assigned to the tree crews most of the year.
Gotcha.
On I know a couple of years ago you had a tree report of good trees, bad trees. Is that due to be updated, or?
Yes, that is in here. That's under professional services. That's the $10,000 level 1 hazard tree assessment.
Okay.
Yep, we do that every year.
And that's trees within the town's right of way, or just trees in general?
So we do what we call a windshield survey, so that they'll actually drive the roads in town and identify hazard trees. And at that point, then we determine, is it a town tree or is it a private tree? Now, they're only looking maybe 10 feet off the road. But as you know, the width of the right-of-way varies depending on the roadway. So there are areas in town where the edge of pavement is the edge of right-of-way. So any tree off the edge of the road is private. There are also areas where 35 feet off of the edge of the road is still town property, still within the right-of-way. So we make the determination on what's a hazard first, and then what is a public or private tree. When it is determined that it's a private tree, we send that homeowner or that property owner a letter indicating that we've identified that there's a hazard tree on your property and it should be removed. Which puts the town in a position, if that tree does, fall and cause damage, that we've identified it as a hazard. Because the way Mass General Law works is a person is not responsible for damage caused by a tree, because it's presumed that that tree was healthy and it was an act of nature that caused it to fall. But if it's been identified as a hazard and falls, it is the responsibility of that property owner. A very long-winded answer to a short question.
Glad I asked it. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Highway?
Yeah.
Right. So do you want to talk about the,
Yeah, so we have, there's just one mistake in the personnel tab. We have a duplicate name, Gavin Russell. That should actually be, is it Petrino?
Jack Petrino?
Jack Petrino, so, we'll correct that I'll correct that in the fall, but, I just wanted to let you know that it's not an additional position.
Is the salary correct? Because they were the
Yeah.
same salary too.
It's gonna have to
No,
be
it's
adjusted.
got to be adjusted.
but it's not a huge amount. And then two positions that were reallocated out of that budget, we'll be looking at whether we should put those positions back in the fall. So. Based on how all of our revenues and everything are.
So repairs and maintenance, that budget is level funded. Roadway resurfacing, that budget is also level funded. Stormwater drainage maintenance is level funded. Leases and contract services is level funded. All other supplies and equipment is level funded. Our traffic controls budget is level funded. The dues and memberships budget is level funded, as is the staff development. There is no capital outlay in this operating budget. Any questions on this one?
Yeah, so you mentioned 2 employees moving to something else, or what was the salary changed?
So highway historically has been a 15 staff member, well, at least since I've been here, 15 staff members. There's an error on the spreadsheet where the incorrect name was put in, and as a result, the salary is incorrect there slightly. But also there are 2 staff members that moved out of highway, and when I put the spreadsheet together, there's those salaries, those staff members are listed here as part of the 15, but their salaries are zeroed out as a result.
So did they move to a different?
They moved to water and sewer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're still in the department. They're in a different division, funded out of the enterprise. Yeah, but so therefore they're not, those positions are not reflected in the budget.
Okay, so is this decrease correct then?
It is. That
145,000?
represents those 2 people moving.
Okay, okay.
But we're looking to try to reestablish that in the fall. So,
Yeah.
What does that mean? Bring them back into this department?
not those 2, but maybe establish
Bring those
the
positions.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that we're funded at 15 staff members.
Okay.
So those 2 positions, are they included in that 15 total number for this?
Yes. Yeah, they would be.
But they're paid out of water, but their uniforms are paid out of this budget?
Nope, so
All right.
so when you look at the list of those staff members,
Yeah.
you can see the 2 that are 0 total salary.
Yeah.
They moved into the water sewer division.
Okay.
Their whole position is funded out of the water sewer, their uniform allowance, everything is funded out of water sewer. So we're down 2 people
So you're
in
currently
highway.
at 13?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have 15
okay.
uniforms, I only asked because you had 15 uniforms listed, times 700.
Right, because that was where we moved those positions, didn't include that in the decrease in the uniform allowance.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So we have 13 people
Yeah.
right now, but we're looking to
Go
get
back
those other
to,
Go
2
back.
back. Right, so we're
Got
fully
it.
staffed again.
Okay. And I guess for like road resurfacing, like everything's level funded, you just talked about the police details and going up that 12.5%. Why isn't that reflected in these line items too, with the police detail going up?
Because a lot of times when we do the road resurfacing, we simply close the road and set up detours. So we don't incur as many police detail costs, right? So if we're going to be taking a tree down, we have a single operation in a single location.
Yeah.
But if we're going to be doing mill and overlay on, say, Marshall Street, we're just going to close all of Marshall Street and send traffic around. So there's less police detail costs associated with our resurfacing work. In addition to that, this also includes our hot box work, which is a mobile operation, which we don't normally have a detail for all the time.
Okay, you just listed in both the forestry and this one kind of X amount of hours times this, and the other one went up and this one didn't. That's what I was curious. And then I'm just curious, why isn't the stormwater drainage maintenance taken out of the stormwater enterprise? Why is it out of highway?
That's a good question. we started to move some of these costs into the stormwater enterprise.
Okay.
But we're at a point where the stormwater enterprise can't handle any additional cost. Yeah. So I believe 2 years ago, we moved a significant amount into the stormwater budget and, to try to get as much as we could out of the enterprise.
And then one of my last questions for the leases and contracts. It says the setter and gutter line painting, it's a new 3-year contract in 2024. Is that calendar year? So is that ending in 2027? And do we expect the same prices?
Yes.
We expect the same prices as 3 years ago?
It's a 3-year contract, so they're
But
held.
does it end the end of 2026 or is it end of 20? Is it fiscal or calendar, I guess?
Calendar.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So calendar 2027, which would be the end of fiscal 2027, would still be tied into that.
Will it end halfway through, right? 24, 25, and 26. So it end halfway through this upcoming fiscal year.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll have to rebid it.
Correct. But I guess
Fiscal 28.
costs will go up and we won't get the same amount of services unless we're all spending it in the first half of this fiscal year coming up. Right? Because you're going to be going for a new contract starting January 1st, 2027, right?
Right, but we're already tied in because we do a lot of it.
So you're going to do it all in the fall. And
Yeah.
You're going to spend it all in the fall, so it's not going to affect this budget. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then we'll have to put it out to bid again. Yeah, so it lines up with the budgeting process.
Okay, on to your favorite, probably? Snow and ice?
Oh, boy.
Snow and ice is level funded. As always. Yeah, so per the statute, snow and ice budget is level funded. And anything, we have the ability to run the deficit in that, and then we make the correction after free cash is certified and inject some additional funding into that.
Certainly gonna need a correction this year.
Yeah, and just on that subject, so there was a state of emergency declared by the governor, so we are looking to file FEMA reimbursements for all of our storm costs for that particular storm, which spans more than a few days. And I know that Senator Feingold is also looking at trying to fund formulaically cities and towns for that storm. So hopefully there'll be some relief provided. If not, we would do what we usually do, which is we'd hit the stabilization fund for that. And right now it's well over $1 million. So.
Does the town use sand or no?
No,
Okay.
we haven't used sand.
I thought so. It was just listed, so it's probably just old
7, 8
nomenclature in there.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Okay.
We've got the enterprise funds next.
Yeah,
All right, so we'll start with, what do you want to do first, water?
water, please.
All right, water enterprise. Yeah, okay. Okay. So I know some of you saw this at the meeting the other day, but the water budget whoops, sorry, hold on. We're looking, this is similar to what we've done in the past. We have a $5.4 million investment for borrowing for water rehabilitation for distribution system. 2.5 miles of pipe, which is kind of the going rate now. We were getting 3 miles of pipe out of that. Although that last bid, did you do better, or the last one you opened? What you get,
We
you know?
we did better, but it's still not.
Yeah, still not 3 miles.
Yeah.
This year's budget accommodates debt service for $6.9 million for capital work over the next, over this year, of which 1.5 million of that is meter replacement programs. Budget is increasing by 12.47%, of which 8.16% of that is attributed to new debt. Let me just do this. Oops. So this is a distribution budget, and it's going up 21%. So we added an SHMEO position to this budget. That was about $83,000 to address demands of DEP on gate valve maintenance and additions of leak detection, 28K. That was in the maintenance account, I believe. So those are two major contributors to the distribution portion of the water budget. So you can see that the new position is really the big bump up in FY27. And moving on to the biggest contributor on the expense side, professional services increased by 154%, $30,000 for leak detection. It's also 38% for a $27,000 increase in meter replacement program. So those are the two big items in the expenses that are going up. And I know you probably have some questions, and Kevin can answer those. And then on the filtration side, it's a much nicer story, going down $14,000. Filtration is decreased by 1%, attributed to staff reduction and reallocation, and a $14,000 decrease. And again, you can see that increase of 5.09% was due to energy and utilities, and the repair and maintenance account has gone up by $28,000 due to backflow devices and unanticipated repairs. So based on the history in that account. Water Enterprise Fund has indirects of 1.9 million. And the biggest contributing factors are those things in the yellow, which is the Department of Public Works itself is a huge contributor to the indirects. And group insurance, the rest of fixed expenses, group insurance, retirement, Medicare, and property and liability. Those are the other big contributors. The rest of the departments are fairly small. My office, accounting, computer services, treasurer collector, human resources. So those big ticket items, the DPW, and all of the fixed costs that contribute to indirects. And that's what I've highlighted here. It's about 1.8 million of the total 1.9 million of those big contributors. And as you can see that visually, group insurance, public works, and retirement, and property and liability. And then this just shows you the history of the indirects, and you can see the ones that increase most sharply are those that I mentioned, fixed costs, group insurance, retirement, public works, and property and liability. And then this is the combined fund that shows you the total change for water distribution and filtration. So it's a total budget of $10.9 million to $1.2 million increase. And what's driving that is debt, $792,000 in debt service, and that makes sense because we're borrowing every year an additional 5.4 and 1.5 million each year. And then this is the debt as compared to the budget over time. And right now, we're roughly at 39% of the budget is debt service. And it's kind of hovers around that throughout the next projections up to 2036. Debt is in the blue, budget is in the red. So you can see the budget of 9.3 million, and then projecting out to 2036, that number goes up because we'll be borrowing money over time. And then I will let Kevin answer questions about the budget itself, because the rest of it is capital improvements. So, I don't know if you guys have questions about the budget.
I have a question. So with that money buying us less miles per year of replacement piping, what are our options?
Well, financially, there really aren't many options. I mean, I think it's quite aggressive that you're spending $5.4 million a year, each year additionally for capital. So your only option is to try to do more, but that would result in higher water rates. And we're trying to temper the impact of debt on the rates. And one way we were trying to do that was through the trying to reallocate the sewer debt, but you can't do that because that's debt exempt. So I think we'll be able to do some of it because there'll be room under the levy cap next year, I think, but probably no more than $1 million. So it's difficult to reduce the burden on the tax rate that additional debt would add. So that's one way to do it, and so I think we're limited to about $1 million to do that. Then another thing is that the hospital is coming online. That's going to produce roughly $800,000 in revenue annually, and that will help a little bit too, but again, not as much as the impact of the debt that is there. So
When are they scheduled to come online?
so I think it's this summer.
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
later this summer.
Yeah. But, and frankly, it's been, Kevin can attest to this more than I can, but carrying that project load is significant, so it isn't just money. Running projects like that all the time, every year, can be a little disruptive, not only to the system, but to traffic and everything else in town. So taking on more work isn't just about the money, it's also what disruption it causes. So I think we should just continue on the path we are, at least for now, and then reevaluate over the next couple of years as we look at our growth and see if there's any opportunity to reevaluate.
Did we, I think last year we talked about leak detectors. Did we get those? We were gonna putting it at point X and another one at point Y. So we did.
We did, we actively detect leaks. When we do, we repair those. I feel this year, even more than most, we've repaired more leaks than water breaks. So those devices are working. And what's also working, I think, is our pipe replacement program. Right? We're getting a lot of the aged and fragile pipe out of the system. Obviously, the issue you have is with the next weakest link. But I guess, for lack of a better phrasing, our weakest links are getting stronger. It won't stay like that forever. Obviously, the pipe is aging. But, I think we're doing a pretty good job of getting ahead of things. And, like the town manager said, I think staying on the course we're on is really a great thing to do.
And so the amount of water that we're losing that used to be unknown we're getting a better handle on.
We're working towards that, yes.
Do you know what our unaccounted water percentage is?
Not off the top of my head, it was around 20%, it was high.
I was going to say, industry standard is 10, so
Yeah.
that's where you want to be.
Yeah. We do have a lot of cast iron in the system, which for anyone who knows, cast iron doesn't blow apart like AC does. It'll create a crack around the circumference, and that will just leak over time. It won't sometimes be something that comes to the surface. It'll leak underground and you don't notice it, which is why the leak detection is so important in order to find those sources, to make those repairs so that we're not losing water that we're pumping out of the plant.
Okay.
So you said you had like some measurement. You don't have it off the top of your head though, right?
What do you mean of
Like
uncomfortable water?
percent loss.
Yeah,
But so my question is, are we able to measure, how long have we known, and is it going down, or do you have any idea? Or
so we have to report on that every year to DEP.
Okay.
One of the problems we have is we have to also account for water loss on a water break. And, if we do the leak detection, we don't know if it doesn't surface because it's a cast iron pipe or it's a copper surface or something that's been leaking. We don't know how long it's been leaking for. So we have to report this unaccounted for number based on a variety of assumptions. And in addition to that, when we have a water break, we can try to guess how much water we lost at that water break, but we don't know how long it took for us to get the phone call that there's a water break, so our unaccounted for water has fluctuated significantly over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's still something that's a moving target.
Okay. That makes sense. The meter replacement?
Yes.
Where are we as far, that, we don't have, sorry. So has everybody been replaced, or where are you in that?
I'll actually, Dave knows all that, so I'll let Dave speak to it.
I know originally it was targeted as a 3-year program, third. Based on town staff and the contractor staff, we're looking to be more than 50% done by July. So we're definitely ahead of schedule. One of the things we run into is first notice, second notice, third notice. Between the contractor and the town, we're having to give out a lot of third notices now. Some of the responses are, well, I got the second one, I thought I had more time, kind of situation. So we have to be a little more stern on the third one, but we're definitely progressing well in that program ahead of schedule.
Great. All right. So can we expect that line to be a lot less after this is done, or?
What's that, the meter replacement or the?
Was that in the capital?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's 1.5 million. This is the last year, I believe.
Right, so last year we're borrowing for that.
So it'll go from 6.9 to 5.4.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So I know we're looking at doing unattended third shift operators. How is that going? Is there going to be any realized benefit in FY27, or is that still preliminary?
Still preliminary at this point.
So it's actually based on, I spoke with Woodard and Curran about that, and it's sort of waiting on how Lowell works out and then follow that formula. And it seems like DEP's been a little bit more receptive, so once that's done, Woodard and Curran's doing their proposal, they'll come our way, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right.
Sewer?
Sewer.
All right, hold on, let me just go to sewer.
I'm going to recuse myself from the sewer budget. So, do you want to step out or?
I'll just say too that, I know I did it in the presentation, but just for your own edification, so the water rates are projected to go up 6.5% based on the budget and capital. That's the slide I have up now. The annual impact for that is about $40 on the almost $41 on the average household, which represents, I believe, 70%. Anyone 71% of the residents would fall in that category of $41 or less, and then 91% of the residents would fall in the category of $78 or less. So that 6.5% increase annually represents between $40 and $80, depending on where you fall, but most people are going to fall in that $40 range. 70% of the town will fall in that range. So just for your own edification, that's the impact of the budget on the rates, 6.5% for water. And then moving on to wastewater. So wastewater is going up 5%, $165,000. The operating, so it's 18% increase to salaries, and again, we're adding a position to this budget, so that results in an 18% increase. The position is added to address pump station maintenance, and I think the analysis, and Kevin can get into this more than I can, but basically trying to be more proactive about pump station maintenance, and then it will help eliminate the reactive nature of overtime and everything else. So it just makes sense to have another. There are so many pump stations in town that need to be maintained. It just makes sense to bring another body on board to help with that maintenance. So that was added this year. So again, you can see the expenses over time, salaries going up, expenses going up, and the contributing, the biggest, well, the one thing that I really wanted to talk about this is the Lowell sewer assessment. So the Lowell sewer assessment is going to be, we just found out in the last, 2 weeks maybe, that our assessment that we put in the FY26 budget is going to be higher than we anticipated by $191,000. So I'll put in a warrant article for the FY26 budget amendment, and we'll take that out of sewer retained earnings. So sewer stabilization is just over $4 million, and retained earnings is an additional $4 million. So we're in pretty good shape to take that money out of that account. So that's one piece of it. But then the other piece of it is, well, it's going to impact FY27. So FY27 rates do not have that forecasted increase into the sewer assessment. So what will end up happening is we will have a lower retained earnings number because it's not in the rates, which is okay because we're at $4 million in retained earnings. So, and we will have to make that up in the following year to add an adjusted assessment to the rates in order to be capturing that revenue. So it's important not to be, the idea is we're not funding this increase through one-time accounts forever and ever. We're just funding 1 year, and we'll adjust the rates in the following year. And then why? Why is that happening? And I guess there's a 40% decrease in Lowell's contribution, so their volume, I guess, has gone down. Ours went down by 20%. But that's not 40%. So what that does is that makes our assessment go up because our share of the sewer is higher than it was because it didn't go down as much as Lowell's overall sewer went down. So we are in communication with them to find out, what's the trend going to be? Is this going to continue into the future? Is it because they're taking II out? What are the factors that are driving that reduction? Is it drought? Is it II? Is it both? Is that going to continue? What should we project for the future? But my instinct is that the sewer assessment is going to go up. And then I think there's some capital stuff coming up on the Lowell side. So you can anticipate, I think we should anticipate that Lowell assessment is going to rise significantly over the next couple of years. but I did want to touch base on that because that's probably the biggest contributing factor to the sewer operating and budget. Indirects are 918,000, and again, same story as the water budget. Most of it is related to DPW and the fixed costs. DPW being 492,000, and fixed costs being 237 for group insurance. 64, 13, and 40 for the other fixed costs. It's a total of 848,000 in indirect costs out of a total of 918,000. So that, again, it's the same story. And then Public Works, biggest contributor, group insurance next. And then these shows you that the increases are in those areas, group insurance and Public Works. And then the sewer budget overall has a $206,000 increase. 104 of that is related to salaries, and 101 of that is related to expenses, I'm sorry, the indirects. And so that in the budget itself, we did see some decrease in debt because a lot of the debt is retiring on that side. So that contributed a little bit to the fact that this budget isn't going up as much as it could. And then this is the operating budgets, 43% of the budget, debt's 44% of the budget, and indirects 13% of the budget. And then this shows you a different story with the debt. You can see that the debt is dropping off substantially in sewer over the next few years. And then and that $1 million I was talking about, you can see it that from 27 to 28. Then it drops off precipitously after that. But I don't think we'll be able to reallocate that for the water side because it's because as I said, it's debt excluded, and I don't think we'll have. We might, but I don't think we'll have that kind of room in the levy to do that. So you can see that the budget goes down and then it goes up, and that's a factor of the debt keeps falling off until 2031, and then the budget, you'll see increases because it's not offset by decreasing debt anymore. So that is kind of an unusual thing to see in a graph, but it makes sense. So the rest is capital, so I'm going to save that for later, and I'll defer to Kevin if you have any questions about the budget. Like I said, the big story is the Lowell sewer assessment.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, I have did you mention we were adding somebody, staff?
Yeah, one person.
One person in this? Okay.
I think that's is it an SMHEO?
Yeah.
One of them was an SMHEO. I think that was it.
HMEO.
HME, okay.
There are?
Yeah, that's it for now. Thanks.
Okay. I think we're all set on that one.
All right. What do we got next?
Stormwater?
Stormwater.
Operating budget.
See you back, Evan?
Hit.
Storm.
Oh, well, I should mention too, the rates are going up 3% for sewer, and that represents basically a $14 increase annually for 71% of the town, and $27 or less for 92% of the town.
Do you have a projection for the next year?
it's kind of stable.
Okay.
We're projecting out about between 3 and 4% straight out. Sewer's a lot easier than water.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering because of the whole debt thing and,
Yeah, but no, right now, that's what we've got projected. I have that somewhere.
alright.
Let me just,
I should ask the same thing about the water. What did you, I remember, this year it's 6.5, I think it was?
Yeah.
So what is it projected in the next few years?
so it's going, well, I'm opening up the rate projection, hold on.
Actually, did you send that to us?
That's stormwater.
It's too much to review.
We're back on sewer, right?
Well, I was asking about both.
This is the one, hold on. So sewer rate projection. Yeah. So actually, it actually right now goes down. It's 3.3, and then it should level off. We might not have an increase for a while. Like, I don't recommend that, but it'll be the sewer rates will be very stable, unless we decide to start investing in some of the pump stations, which is a conversation we might want to have. But so that's the one. That's the least. The lesser of the two concerns, but if you look at the water rates, water enterprise budgets, I think this is it here. Yeah, this is it there. That's the one. This one's a little harder to corral. Whoops. Here it is. So we have the 6.6, and it's 4.4 spread out over the future into the near future. The farther out you get, the less accurate you're going to be, but we're projecting in order to keep up the rate of investment that you're doing, you have to do at least a 4.4% increase in order to maintain that. So what I did was, like I said, I think we'd be able to capture about $1 million moving over from sewer to water that'll be subsidized by the general fund. But I'm not confident we could continue to do that because it's a debt exempt. That was a debt exempt borrowing, which I didn't really know, and then it's very unusual. I've never seen that before, that sewer debt was debt exempt, But so that was interesting. Made sure I checked every single loan in town after I found that out. So, so that's it. It's about 4.4. Like I said, that's going to be a battle to maintain that, but it's 6.5 this year. It was 6.5 last year, and that's what we've been projecting. And we did some debt relief. We're using some money for debt relief this year, and we did it last year. But then we won't be hitting we won't be using stabilization after that for rate relief, because I don't think that's a habit you should get into.
Yeah.
That's just a buffer, because these first 2 years we were trying to deal with some serious debt.
Yeah. I don't think it was too long ago we didn't have much of an increase at all. Right?
Yeah. What catches up with you?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So stormwater. Oops. Okay, so stormwater is kind of I guess, somewhat of a boring budget. $780,600. It's an $800 increase And the projected revenue is 800,000. And so that will leave a $19,400 projected surplus. And we are funding the capital this year out of the stabilization fund or the retained earnings. So this just shows you, and so why does it look like, what we're actually doing is the revenue rate is the same. So we should actually receive about $1.1 million in revenue, but we're only using 800 to fund the budget. And then we're taking money out of retained earnings and then essentially putting it back in. But that's a way to make sure that we fund, we fund the whole budget, and then the retained earnings will be used just for capital. So we're trying to prevent, we've been trying to avoid going up on the stormwater fees. So I'm going to try to get one more year out of that, and you'll see how that goes. So the balance of the retained earnings right now is 2.1 million. So we'll take the capital, which is 700,000, out of that fund. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Do you want to go through each line, or are there any questions, or you want to handle this one?
So for the catch basin cleaning, it's the same thing as the line striping. That contract ends at the end of 2026.
Yep.
Right now you have budgeted $25.50. I think those costs will go up exponentially. Just FYI.
Yeah.
I think other communities are over $40 per catch basin, so just FYI.
Yeah. It's significant.
And then do you see any cost increase if the draft MS4 permit becomes final for the town?
Definitely. Yeah. It's unclear as to how it's going to hit us. But yeah, we're tracking that. We'll see. We'll see when it becomes final.
And then I guess my other question is, in the lease contracts, it says you contract out the second street sweeping. So is the first street sweeping done in-house?
Dave, you want to field that one?
It's the opposite. The one in the spring is the one that's contracted out.
Yeah.
And then through MS4, the second one is the one we do in-house, and that's in the fall.
So is there a reason why we don't do both of them in-house and contract out the services at all?
It's a time function. We have to bring in 3 to 4 sweepers just to get it done. Important events like Memorial Day and getting the town cleaned up. Whereas in the fall, we can dedicate a driver and then someone to drop off a dumpster can to collect it. We just have more time in the fall versus a delay to try and clean up.
Yeah.
'Cause you never know how long winter's going to last.
Yep.
So.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right. That's all the operating budgets.
What you got left?
Capital.
Capital.
Oh, could we do RECC before you do capital? Is that on? That's on the agenda, right?
Oh.
No, it wasn't.
Well, that means you can't do it, right?
There is or not? You probably could, because there's a town manager out there.
Well, yeah, could you do it under town manager or other, or do you want to? It's actually not a town budget, so. In theory, I don't even know why it comes to you guys, but.
I'd rather wait. I haven't had a chance to look at it.
All right. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
No worries.
Oh, man. Oh. Ain't making me feel bad.
No, don't do that at all.
Yeah,
We'll put them first next week.
all right. All right, so we can do, I guess we can do capital.
Yep. Sorry.
So I'm just going to open my slideshow here. Okay. All right, so this is the 5-year capital plan. It's from 27 to 31, and obviously we're primarily concerned with 27, and all of these items are funded through one mechanism or another within the capital plan. So facilities and grounds, there is $1,006,000, and that's being funded through free cash stabilization funds. Yeah, all those items. Includes the police station, the library, senior center, pickleball court, and recreational fields. I know that's a parking lot. I'll get into some of the details later in the presentation, but I just want to go high view for now. Fire department, there was a new engine for almost $1 million being purchased from free cash. I'm sorry, stabilization fund. That's $950,000. And then public works. These are general fund. All through, there's some chapter 90. I think 500,000 of this is chapter 90, and then 200, then the rest of it is stabilization fund. And then fleet maintenance, that is $90,000. That's also, I think, stabilization fund. School department, that's a security system they're working with the police station on. That's stabilization fund, and that's $3.4 million in total for those. And then moving over to some of the retained earnings funds, you have public works for sewer, II work for $250,000, pump station improvements for $350,000, and fleet and equipment and replacement program, total of $1.2 million coming out of the sewer enterprise fund, $1.28 million. Then water enterprise, so out of the water enterprise fund, we have $150,000 coming out for hydrant replacement, $200,000 coming out for water treatment plant and tank maintenance upgrades. That's a total of and another $505,000 for fleet and equipment replacement program, for a total of $855,000 from the enterprise fund. And public stormwater enterprise, and we kind of briefly touched on that, to $700,000 of work coming out of that retained earnings account. Telemedia, we touched on that a little bit too. That's coming out of telemedia enterprise fund. That's actually an appropriation. It's $180,000. And then the borrowings, $5.4 million, and $1.5 for $6.9 million, for a total of $9.9 million. And all of those items, and then for total of the two pages is $13.3 million for all of these capital items. And then going into them in a little bit more detail, and I might have to rely on Kevin for some of these. So out of the stabilization fund, you get that $500,000, which is for sidewalks and complete streets. So that was originally supposed to be funded through a grant program, but we are not currently eligible for the grant program because we're not MBTA community compliant. So I have $500,000 out of stabilization fund to, for that project. 6 to 8 yard sander with modifications, $55,000, and then 4 yard sander with modifications, $35,000, for a total of $590,000. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Kevin? No?
No?
All right, and then the fire truck, they just get more and more expensive every time I see them come across. These used to cost $500,000, now they're almost $1 million for a new truck. Again, that's for the stabilization. And I mentioned all those expenses from facilities and grounds, police station upgrades, I think that's HVAC, library roof repair, senior center chiller, pickleball court upgrades, so that's some other things that need to be done to the pickleball courts. And I think there's some screening and that's being done there. Recreational fields, there's a parking lot on the other side of Livingston, $150,000 that Vinnie's doing. That's a total of 1.06, as I mentioned. And then the critical incident mapping, $27,000, total of $2.5 million coming out of stabilization, for bringing that balance down to 20.751273. And as policy is, we would replace those in the fall with free cash. We would replenish the account. And then retained earnings, we have $1 million for water retained earnings. And so we're taking $200 out for water treatment plant improvements, hydrant replacement, $150. Ford maintainer, 50% of that is being split with water and sewer. Sterling truck, vac truck, major repairs, that's $60,000. That's also being split. And a new vac truck, that's $400,000. But I believe that's replacing a truck, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is, because that came up at the select board. So we actually have 2 of these trucks. One's being repaired, one's being replaced. So that's $400,000. So it's $855,000 in total for retained earnings, leaving a balance in there of $229,000. And then sewer retained earnings, $4.6 million. And taking $250 out for II. $350 for pump station improvements, and then the split of all those pieces of equipment, $45, $60, and $400, as well as a sewer jetter, a mobile sewer jetter for $175, for a total of $1.2 million, $1.28 million out of sewer retained earnings, bringing that balance down to $3.3 million, $3.338 million. And then the drainage improvements and upgrades at $700,000 coming out of stormwater for out of a $2.1 million balance, bringing that down to 1.4. And then the Ella Fleming, that enterprise retained earnings is not being tapped because it's in the raise and appropriate. So that balance will stay the same. It's $180,000 for that work. And then the borrowing, so the total capital and stabilization retained earnings is 5.58. Whoops. All right. $6.9 million for borrowing and $845,000 for Chapter 90s and PFAS funding. So we're buying equipment from that PFAS money, basically turnout gear. Turnout gear for fire department. Some of the old turnout gear actually has PFAS in it, so we're replacing it with new turnout gear that doesn't, so it's somewhat related. So that's $63,000, total of $13.396. But just keep in mind that we will also be doing a warrant article to take money from sewer retained earnings to cover that Lowell deficit, and that's really not capital, but I just wanted you to be aware that that'll be coming in as a warrant article. So that's it for all of the capital items. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Could we, I just want to make sure I heard you correct on sidewalks. So we weren't eligible for a grant because we are not MBTA compliant.
Yes.
And how much was that?
Well, that's debatable too. So it was a $500,000 grant program, but they increased to it $1 million grant program. So we're not eligible for $1 million.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question to that. Can we just not even like apply for it because we're ineligible, or are we applying it tonight?
What did you say?
We would apply,
Or we
and
just not, we can't do it?
we'll get to that.
Sorry.
You go for it.
I have a question on the number right up here, the water retained earnings after the transfer. Should we be concerned about that amount?
So there's a balance in stabilization. I don't know what it is, but I think it's over, I think it's 2 million something.
Yeah.
So we have a backup to the backup.
Gotcha. Still feels a little light,
Yeah, yeah.
but all right, it is what it is.
So we're using some of the PFAS settlement funds. I'm just curious, since I wasn't here last year, how much did the town get total in the PFAS
I think
settlement?
it was about 8. We might be getting more, but I think the first round we got was about 800,000.
So what, is there anything else allocated for funding besides the?
The two things that we did, this one and the one for that study for the water.
Unintended operation.
Yeah, is there anything with like the plant upgrade improvements that can be allocated towards PFAS? We're not taking other retained earnings and utilizing the PFAS funds? That's,
We always could, but we hadn't planned on it at this point.
There's really only like $300,000 or $400,000 left in that account, so there's not a lot there. But
correct. Yeah, that one project's 200,000. Piggybacking off on Rob's question.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
I guess my only other question is for like the water distribution. We're budgeting 5.4 million. It seems like year after year after year. Obviously, the dollar goes down every year, and I think we're targeting 2% water main improvements. That's the goal, right? So wouldn't we need to fund that more and more to get to like present day dollar?
So, yes, but what was comfortable in the budget was the 5.4 million initially to get us 3 miles when we put that in place.
Yeah.
We're seeing costs go up.
Correct.
Every year. Now instead of getting 3 miles a year, we're down to 2.5, 2.4.
Yeah. It's 3 miles is less than 2%, which is DEP's guideline for water main replacements.
Right. Yeah, but it's all about what the budget can handle.
This is just a request for John and Rob. I think I've made this request before, but you put a spotlight on it again tonight. I know when the library presented, there was some grants that we knew we weren't getting. We just heard about another one tonight that seems pretty significant. I know schools are coming up, and I'm assuming we're going to hear about the grants that have already been referenced in some of the school committee meetings that we're going to be denied. It would be really helpful, I think, for us to know kind of what is the town applying for right now that we're being denied by the MBTA communities, because I think it's significant to note it's not the minimal amounts that were being thrown around when everyone was rallying the troops to be against it. So I think it would be helpful for the citizens, the residents, to really understand what the current cost.
So we are working on that list because you're not the first or even second, third, or fourth person to ask for that list.
And I think I've asked for it a few times already, but I just
So,
wanted to kind of note it because.
But we have a list of, frankly, the list just keeps growing. That's the problem.
Right, and the cost keeps growing and growing, and I don't think that's being, I'm kind of amazed that the voice to rally against it was so loud, and how quiet it is now that the repercussions of that are being discussed. And I think that needs to be as loud as the reasons people claimed we shouldn't be complying. Just my soapbox moment.
I mean, to be honest, is it possible for us to get a copy of that list every month?
Yes, that's very. We'll send you one tomorrow. We have a list.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I think it also would be helpful, I know there's now the talk of the lawsuit and, you know, what's coming down the pipe. I would like to know, and I think I've asked this before, and it was basically that we don't have an estimate yet, but if we have to retain counsel and things along those lines to keep defending the decision, I'd love to know, you know, what that cost is gonna look like for us as well, because obviously that's relevant to our discussions here.
Okay, yeah, we did have some initial discussions on that. The legal costs won't be too bad because we're going to use our own legal counsel. And frankly, the timeline on this is very short because the Supreme Court's already ruled on this. I mean, the fight's already been had.
Correct.
So there isn't a lot for us to defend.
Yeah.
So we think that it'll be through the courts by the summer.
Okay.
And it does look like some communities, I reached out to Marblehead today, and they're moving forward with a zoning article, with MBTA communities article, and I think some of the 9 communities are moving ahead, trying to resolve it. And I think that's the message that we're getting from the state, is they'd rather see you move forward and solve it on your own than have to impose a master.
Yeah,
You know.
that would make sense.
Everyone else? Okay. I guess we're done with this week's budget.
Oh,
Oh. Yes, Jason.
No, I don't have anything.
You look like you did.
I don't have nothing. Nothing but aggravation. I want to thank you for all your hard work and dedication. I need another road paved. Thinking about Catamount. Can we take Catamount on the get that road paved?
I'll put it on the list.
Can we get that on the list? I'm just on this committee to get my speak paid. I like to pay attention too. Oh, good.
Okay. All right. So that's it for budget reviews this week.
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Brian, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
Top of the list, Nick.
Love it.
All right. We got a lot done in 2 hours.
This was one of the big ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and thanks to the W for all their hard work over the past couple of weeks.
Yes, they've done a great job.
Thank you.
And I've gotten barely any phone calls about I shouldn't say that, but snow removal.
Here they come.
Indicates that they're doing a good job.
Yeah, Facebook pages, maybe don't pay attention to the Facebook
Yeah, I
pages
don't know,
for
they
another
should
couple of
call us instead of putting it on Facebook.
That would be too commonsensical as well. So much more fun than doing all that.
Okay, so we still have, town manager, you have nothing else, right?
I'm good.
Okay, we got 2 sets of minutes to approve from February 9th. Any motions on those?
Pipe down.
I know.
I motion to approve the meeting minutes from the dates you just mentioned.
And I'll second the February 2nd and February 9th
Thank you.
meeting minutes.
So I guess since we have a remote person, we have to do a roll call,
Nice job.
right? Jason,
I approve.
Rob,
Aye.
Evan,
Aye.
Joe Marie. Lindsay?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. 6-0.
Great.
And I guess I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. You usually do it.
Go ahead.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
That felt weird. It's usually not my job.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote.